The if command allows us to perform a command list or test an expression using the test command and execute one or more commands in an action list based on the result of the test. If the test is an expression inside square brackets, we are testing the result of using the test command to evaluate the expression. If it evaluates to true, the test command is successful. Instead of the test command, you can actually run any command list, and it will test the resulting success or failure of the command list. If the expression is true or the command list succeeds, the commands in the action list will run. In the simplest form, the if command does a simple test and runs one or more commands based on success, and that's all there is involved. We may choose to do a test if the directory /etc exists. We say if, we provide the command list, in this case the test command with the expression -d/etc. The command list to be tested ends with a semicolon, followed by the keyword then, which tells the if command, here comes the action list. We can now put in a list of commands to run if the test is true or successful. In this case, we will simply display a message indicating the result of the test. The list of commands to run based on the successful test is terminated with the fi command. This ends the if statement, and the if will run. If you wish to provide an action list of commands to run both for when the test is true and for when the test is false, the keyword else is used. If we do the same command again, which can be specified all in one line if you wish, so we're going to test if the directory /etc exists. If it does, we have an action list command to display the results of our test. And now we wish to specify something to do if the test is false. So we end the initial action list with the else command, which is followed by the action list to perform if the test was false. And in our case, we'll simply display the fact that the test was false. And the final action list is finished with fi. Our results, of course, will be the same because the /etc directory does exist. If we were to test some other non-existent directory, we would find the second command list will run. You can include additional tests using the keyword elif. To do this, we can put our first test with an action list to run if the test is true. And we could then do a second test, which will only run if the first test fails, by putting elif and another test with its own then statement and its own action list. In this case, the elif will not run unless the first test fails, so we can deduce from that the thing we were testing was not a directory, and the second test succeeds, so we know that it's a file. Again, this finishes with fi. You may or may not choose to include an else. If you include an else when you have an elif, it means none of the tests above have succeeded. If any of them succeed, the else block will not run. And of course, the entire statement block is finished with fi. Inside your if statement, you can include additional if statements. If you do, each one must be closed off with its own fi. So if my first test, we're testing if the /etc directory exists, and to perform some statements if it does, I might then choose to do another test to see if I can read the etc directory, which has its own if-then and its own action list, finished with its own fi. So this fi belongs to this if. This entire thing will only run if this statement is true. I might choose to give the user some positive feedback by saying if it succeeds, we can read it, else if it fails, we cannot read it, because that's what we were testing. Here, this else belongs to this if because we haven't seen an fi yet. In this case, the fi would go here, and that fi will terminate this if. The entire sequence only runs if this test is true. To terminate this if, I need an fi for it. And now it will all run. And we can see that we've done more sophisticated testing.